Thank you, Sarah. The article that Sarah refers to begins with the statement, "There's a powerful movement afoot." And I was referring to the dialogue movement. And we have here tonight many representatives of that movement. And I have to say that the movement is certainly advanced and strengthened by Clark University's Difficult Dialogues project. And not only have you, Sarah, and the rest of your colleagues continued to develop a group of forward-thinking faculty, but you've brought us all here together tonight to really further develop our thinking about dialogue and our skills and practices. So I want to thank you very much on behalf of all of us. The topic of my remarks tonight is getting to we, why dialogue matters in higher education. That funnily, sort of strangely constructed phrase, getting to we, occurred to me some years ago when I was doing a diversity consultation to a private school in New York City in a community where everybody was talking about what their needs were. Right? The upper school felt different or needed different things than the middle school, and the lower school needed other things, and people of color wanted this, and gay and lesbian families needed that, and everybody had some agenda and some needs that they felt were not being met. And I wondered at the time what would happen if the members of this community could start a sentence with the term we. You know, this is what we want. And it was inspired by Roger Fisher's book and work and negotiation called Getting to Yes. And so I began to think about this phrase, getting to we. And in order to facilitate that at this private school in New York, I brought together a dialogue group of 13 parents. And they were an interesting mix. There were about 50 or 60 people who applied, and we really kept to a small group of parents who we thought would be kind of a microcosm of the school and would be able to teach by example the other families in the school what it meant to be able to have dialogue across differences. And so that group was composed of women and men and adoptive parents and straight parents and gay parents and Asian and black and Latino and multiracial families. And we even had at this very progressive independent school one person who applied who said, "I really have a hard time at this school because I'm a Republican." Excuse me. So we convened this group, and over the course of a year, we read and talked only with the goal of learning how to have productive dialogue across difference. We had no goal other than that. How can we talk about our differences, and how can we inspire others and educate others in our community to do so? And the group was so successful that after I left, they hired a director of diversity and community who continued those dialogues for a number of years. I would suggest, in thinking about higher education, that dialogue matters because our mission is to build the intellectual aptitudes and the experience of engagement with others, as well as the affective orientation that fosters the building of a better world, a world in which we finally can get to we. The important components of dialogue are innumerable. We could talk about structure, process, content, listening, good questions. We could talk all night about those things, and we'll talk tomorrow about many of those things. I'm going to focus on 3 ideas. I'm going to take us into the world of theory and ideas. And I'm talking about 3 ideas that are very up for me right now and that I think are crucial for the educational enterprise. The 3 ideas that will help us, I believe, get to we. First, our dialogues must move beyond dualities. Not only must we move beyond hegemonic narratives and absolute truths, we need to be truly dialogic. One of the most exciting ideas of the 21st century had its birth in the 19th. The world that I grew up in, the world of my contemporaries, was a world of dialectical thinking, Hegelian dialectical thinking, Fanonian dialectical thinking. We thought in binaries. We thought about thesis and antithesis. We thought about master-slave relationships. We thought about males and females, that hallowed binary that we thought would always exist in our world. In dialogue work challenges us to conceive of the world as a world beyond black and white dualities. Our contemporary 21st century environment is multi-raced, multicultural, multi-voiced, and many other multis that I'm sure are going through your heads as I'm saying these words. Take, for example, the gender binary and its corollary binary of sexual orientation. Both have given way. Picture today's classroom. These are the students that I see sitting in front of me when I teach at Mount Holyoke. I'm going to say male, but all of our classrooms, sometimes even at Mount Holyoke, we have males. But our students are straight, male, gay, polyamorous, female, genderqueer, homoaffective, asexual. Gender is bent. Sexual orientation is exploded. I don't see why I have to fit myself into those categories, a young 18-year-old student of mine exclaimed. We are in a postmodern, Bakhtinian world of polyphony, of jazz, a world in which everyone is talking at once, a world that can and will take us beyond what we can today imagine. This world requires us to be multi-partial, a concept that I borrowed from family therapist Ivan Borzameni-Nagy, a concept in which when the therapist is sitting with a particular family member, he doesn't side with anyone, sitting with the whole family. He or she foregrounds the needs of the family as a whole. We need to think of ourselves, as we do dialogue work, as being on the side of all, of everyone. We need to think in a way that helps us to think in more complicated and expanded ways, to move beyond both ands, either ors, and even our hallowed both ands, to a world where the multiple voices and perspectives are all viewed as potentially correct. There's not just one idea to be considered or two ideas to be debated, but there are many ideas to be heard and considered. Encouraging dialogue, then, is to consider not one single outcome, but many possibilities. Consider the last example I'm going to give with regard to race. Psychologist Maria Root has written a Bill of Rights for mixed-race people, and it says in part, I have the right to create a vocabulary to communicate about being multiracial or multi-ethnic. I have the right to change my identity over my lifetime, and more than once. I have the right to have loyalties and identities with more than one group of people, to freely choose whom I befriend and love. The question before us as dialogue theorists and practitioners is how prepared are we to explore the many right answers, to encourage multiple ways of seeing. Are we ready for it? Do we have the skill set? Do we have the habits of mind? How will we defy our language limitations? How will we fight the tendency to put a multiplicity of stimuli back into our brain in two separate boxes?